Okay. Why you self-sabotage before success? You see the title. This is going to be a doozy, and you're going to learn a lot about self-sabotage, probably in ways that you didn't know before. A lot to cover. Let's get into it. So, part one: when we talk about self-sabotage, we want to understand that we want to focus on a specific goal to understand the origins of the self-sabotage. In other words, what is successful is up to you, right? Ideally, with this process, you want to have a specific goal or a set of goals you're aiming for. They need to be specific because the nature of the goal will tell you what kind of self sabotage you're dealing with, as I just said. It'll also tell you the identity that will be required to overcome the sabotage. I'll give an example. So let's say someone wants to be a well known professional oil painter. They love oil painting and they just want to be world renowned for oil painting. Well, at least it's somewhat more specific than saying, I just want to be successful. By having a specific goal, like being a world renowned professional oil painter, if they're self sabotaging, let's say they're procrastinating, for example, they can get to the root cause of why they're procrastinating at oil painting, right? Maybe they feel like their work isn't going to be good enough. Maybe they have a fear of being judged, so on and so forth. Also, because being an oil painter is specific, the identity they need to become, it's easier to identify what that is. So, like, what does it look like to be a really good professional oil painter? Well, you do it a lot. Different brushes to use. The types of paint to use. The different styles. These different types of things that come with experience and things like that. But you also have like the internal things like the confidence, the assuming that the work will come out good, right? These types of things. And the thing about like success is you truly want it to be based on your values and the things you find important. Because if you just base success off of what social media tells you, what your friends tell you, what your family tells you, even if you reach that identity and you reach that pinnacle you're going for, you'll find that you're not fulfilled or happy because you essentially went on a journey that wasn't really a journey that you wanted to go on to begin with. So that's part one of this. You want a specific goal. That way we can identify why you're self sabotaging with that specific goal. Because for different goals, you may be doing it for different reasons. And there's different forms of self sabotage, which we'll cover in this video. Also, I do want to say, make sure you watch this until the end because there's some good game here. There's some good game here. Some good game. Okay, part two. So you have to understand that your self-sabotage is protection, right? You sabotage before success because your being, aka your mind and body, is protecting you. Now you may say, Jem, why would I need protection from success? That's something I want to achieve. It may sound ridiculous, like, what do you mean I'm protecting myself by sabotaging? No, I'm trying to go towards this. Maybe you're blaming the external world as to why you're not succeeding. But you have to understand that when the conscious mind and the subconscious mind aren't in alignment, you get self-sabotage. Your subconscious has one main job after all, and it's to keep you alive and safe, not to make you successful. So that's its first priority. You have to understand that you may consciously want something, but subconsciously you may have fears around it. And the subconscious has more of a say in this dynamic, and that's what leads to self-sabotage. You're now prioritizing protection. And I'm going to go over how this looks like really shortly. Anytime you pursue something that introduces uncertainty, visibility, while you have fears around visibility, more responsibility, emotional risk, the unknown, pressure, aka opinions of others, results, financial pressures, newer expectations, newer standards of behavior, your subconscious evaluates all of that as a potential threat. If you find that you have weakness in that given thing, you're going to view it as a threat. And if that comes with the territory of your success, you're going to do things that lead to you sabotaging. Because the mind and body views threats as things that need to be neutralized. And neutralization can be ignoring it, it could be procrastinating, it could be making excuses, all these types of things. And on top of that, if your nervous system is already dysregulated, overstimulated, or in fight or flight, man, the likelihood of you succeeding in which one to succeed in is extremely low. When you're, when you see success as a threat like this, success gets seen as this might scare us, this might overwhelm us, this might get us exposed, maybe imposter syndrome. This might change our life too fast, and that's scary. Fear of success. This might make us lose what feels familiar. And remember, that last one's important because all too often, people like to stay in their comfort zones because it's familiar, not because it's good for them, but because it's what's normal. If we talk about abusive relationships, if we talk about people that are that struggle with addictions, if we talk about people that just have really bad habits, these habits aren't good for them, and they may know that consciously, but subconsciously, there's a different story. Subconsciously, they're doing that habit for a given reason, for a given safety, because it's familiar. So the subconscious mind and body does what it can to stop what you're going after. You quote unquote procrastinate. You all of a sudden forget. You suddenly get distracted. Something else becomes more important. You say it's not the right time. You find a host of excuses. And like the subconscious is tricky because it will pose these arguments as a very logical argument. Like you could probably make like 3 bullet points why you're procrastinating on something. Why are you procrastinating on pursuing a healthy relationship? Why are you procrastinating on pursuing the ideal career you want to go for? It will pose the arguments. Oh, it's not the right time. Oh, I got to wait till this. I got to wait till this. And you end up waiting for eternity. You end up waiting until, the sea levels stop rising. You start, you keep waiting until Tupac or Michael Jackson comes back. You wait until you get the house, you get the family, you get the wife or the husband or whatever. And then that's when you want to pursue it. But I'm telling you, even then, you probably won't. And this is where self-deception happens with us humans. Part 3, the nervous system rejects anything you aren't regulated enough to hold. So think of it like this. Think of success like water and you're a bucket. Success is water and you're a bucket. The problem is that currently your bucket, you, can only hold 2 gallons of water, and the success you're seeking requires 5 gallons of water. Your current identity, the bucket, simply can't hold that amount of success. The success you defined is too much in the sense of requiring you to be more emotionally strong, make better decisions, go outside your comfort zone, say no to more people, and having more attention on you / being judged more. Right. So in my identity resonance program, I've worked with like people in the acting world, and I've had actors that have told me that like they love the idea of like growing in their careers, being in bigger movies, bigger shows, and things like that. But the issue was that their identity was not a match for that type of career advancement. Right. So they essentially had fears around it because they felt like they weren't emotionally strong enough to deal with all of that attention. People judging their acting, people judging their shows, people recognizing them in the street. Right. That level of stardom also would require them to make better decisions with their careers. It would require them to go outside their comfort zone, maybe be critiqued more. It may require them to say no to more people, especially people that are no longer a fit for them, or people on their team that just it just doesn't make sense to have them on their team. Having more attention on them and being judged more. So because of these fears, there starts to be these behaviors that lead to self-sabotage. Since you're uncomfortable with these things, your nervous system sees your goal as a threat subconsciously. So if we're talking about, so this is like the dialogue of the subconscious. So if we're saying be more emotionally strong, if that level of success requires you to be more emotionally strong, the dialogue in the subconscious is, what if it exposes how emotionally fragile I am? If you need to make better decisions at that level, well, what if I'm not decisive enough? If I need to go outside my comfort zone, what if leaving my comfort zone is scary? If I need to say no to more people, well, what if I can't say no to people and I disappoint them? Or what if I can say no to people and I disappoint them? Having more attention on you being judged, what if I can't be this identity and going towards success ends up proving it? It's these types of fears. So your nervous system starts signaling, and this is the mind and body, we cannot safely hold the level of attention, opportunity, or responsibility you're trying to achieve. So the following happens. People get in your way all of a sudden. You quit right before things work. You get sick when opportunities appear. You create chaos before stability. You push away relationships, clients, money, vision, visibility, whatever industry you're in or whatever thing you're pursuing. And this one about people getting in your way is interesting because you have to remember that we are all connected. The first language of the universe is energy. We are made of energy. We have a certain energy signature we give off, and people have energy signatures they give off. And if you are broadcasting through your nervous system that you are uncomfortable with where you're heading towards, you will not only will you find ways to not go towards it, but literally the world around you will stop you from going towards it because you are actively stopping yourself, and you are not separate from the world. You quit right before things work. You make those logical sounding excuses, but really those excuses are rooted in emotion. So you can see what happens here. Like I said right here, you're not separate from the universe. So what you hold internally shows up externally. Your actions, yes, you have control over your actions, but how people behave and respond to you is also an indirect effect of things. At the end of the day, we're just energy interacting with energy. So if you're at a point where you can be honest with yourself and be like, okay, yes, my mind and body is saying I can't hold this identity yet. Perfect. That's okay. That's where you want to start from. Just admitting that. And then from there, there's so many things you can do. And that's what we're going to cover. You now know where you're starting from and you can course correct. That's all it is, right? All of this is just data and information. You take the data in, you're like, okay, this is what's going on. What do we do? What do we do from here? Because if you let your emotions, oh, here I go again. Oh my God, I'm always, there's always something that I'm dealing with. Like if you fall into that type of thinking, it's going to be hard for you to proceed because now you're like, oh, this is so overwhelming. Oh, here I go again. And then you're going to try to distract yourself with something else. Bless me. Part 4, the hidden identity patterns that trigger sabotage. The successful outcome you want is tied to an identity you have to become, as we've established. If you're not that identity, either you won't achieve the success or you'll achieve a glimpse of it, then lose it. It's a new identity you have to become. If you haven't updated your identity, your old identity will try to pull you back to familiar emotional states, aka familiar nervous system patterns, emotional reactions, doubt, frustration, anxiety, and repellent energy. It's important to know who you need to become. This will probably require you to take an inventory based on the goal you want to achieve. I can help you with that if that's needed, and I'll talk more about that later in this video. And what identity you need to stay in, and what identity you need to stay away from. So this brings up an important thing. You have to understand that identity change is literally two different people, right? It's your old self and then your new self. It's your old self and then your new self. Whenever you do positive habits, or anytime you do a habit, you're basically casting votes for either self. And I got this example from James Clear, author of Atomic Habits. Great book. You should get it. So whatever habits we do, we're casting votes for whoever we want to become. And if we do the positive habits, like we assume that we can be this person we want to be, we assume success, we do nervous system meditations, we do breath work, right? We take action. That's a vote for the person we want to be. If we fall into the self-sabotaging patterns, we are negative, we assume the negative, we engage in habits that aren't conducive for us, we're voting for our old self. And our old self is a frequency, so it actively tries to get you to stay the same. And it has some leverage because it's comfort, right? Even if who you are now is leading to uncomfortable results, it's still familiar. So you want to view it like an election race. Like, who am I voting for every time I do things? And also, if you vote for your old self, you have to understand that there are times where you end up nullifying the previous vote for your newer self. So, for instance, if you if you like meditated and you visualized the outcome you wanted for like 2 days straight, those were votes for your newer self. But then you went 3 days straight, like being negative, giving up, complaining, um, saying it's not going to work. Well, you just nullified the previous days, and that's something to learn from. Don't beat yourself up for it, but just know that that's what happened. So that's a key thing there. Um, like going back to the oil painter example, if he wants to embody the ideal identity he wants to become, that professional oil painter, then let's say he makes a piece of art and it doesn't come out how he wants it to come out. If he's judging it from that identity, he's gonna be like, okay, this is what I did right, this is what I did right, and this is what I can improve upon. So I'll do better next time. It's almost like this dispassionate judging of it. It's very like how a professional would go at it. But if he's not that identity, he's gonna be like, "Oh man, this art didn't come out how I wanted. Oh man, I'm not good enough. I'm this, down the third." And then what happens is he starts associating negative emotion with the experience of going towards his goal. So now it's even easier to procrastinate. It's even easier to make excuses because there's a negative energy signature associated with that event. So now we'll talk about identity patterns that cause self sabotage. But first, I want to give a quick warning. Identities and frequencies operate off confirmation bias. So um, yeah, they operate off confirmation bias to keep you stuck. So the example I just gave with the oil painter, if he's in his old identity, he's going to have confirmation bias on reasons why he can't be a world renowned professional oil painter, right? He's going to see his mistakes in his mind, his reticular activating system, his selective focus is going to magnify his mistakes, and it's going to use that as evidence, as confirmation bias as why he can't do it. Whereas if he was in a newer identity, he'd have the confirmation bias of, oh, this is what I did right, this is what I did right, wow, I can do this. It's two completely different things. And what happens is that these aren't just conclusions, these are emotional impacts on the mind and body. So that's why you have to be very aware and conscious of when you're doing things. How am I reacting to my work? How am I reacting to the thing I'm doing? Because even if it doesn't come out how I want it to, if I start reacting negatively, that's going to make things worse than they need to be. So that's the kind of trick play that your old self does. It has this confirmation bias. And that's why reframing is important, because reframing allows you to go more meta and look at the positives. So let's talk about the identity patterns that cause self sabotage. First, the unworthy identity. Deep down, you feel like you're not the type of person that gets these big opportunities. People like me don't succeed. If I shine, I'll be judged, etc. And essentially, you sabotaging becomes you being self consistent with that identity. So because you're unworthy, you're like, I need to self sabotage so that I can stay safe in this identity of being unworthy. And sometimes you maybe get a kick out of like being right, which is unfortunate because it's better for you to get the success than try to be right and see, like you have the confirmation bias going like, see, I was right, I knew I wouldn't. Like, come on. At the end of the day, worthiness is up to you. It's a decision. I know in our world, like a world full of credentials, a world full of like science and everything, we feel like we need to have evidence, real world evidence of things before we can say, um, before we can proclaim something. That's not necessarily true. How many inventions happened that didn't have real world evidence of it being possible, but somebody using their mind, using their confidence, made it happen? They actualized it into physical reality. Um, so the next one is the chaotic identity. You grew up in chaos, so chaos feels normal. Success feels too calm, too stable, and it's almost boring. Like you're like, oh, this is success. Like, yeah, it feels nice, but it's a little weird because I'm not in fight or flight. Like I'm not engaging my emotions. My nervous system isn't firing and hella dysregulated. So when it's too boring, you create chaos. And I kind of speak from experience because I remember in the earlier days of me meditating and visualizing, I would remember myself feeling so weird with such a quiet mind. Um, and it's because I was addicted to the monkey mind, the chatter, the constantly things going on. And now that I've normalized a quiet mind, it's no problem for me to have a completely quiet mind for 3 hours straight, not even thinking anything. And with a quiet mind like that, my body is very calm. My environment is very calm. I've trained my mind and body to be in that state. So with the chaotic identity, you create chaos. You create drama. You overwork maybe to engage those emotions. You overwhelm yourself. You exacerbate confusion. Because chaos feels like home, you have an emotional addiction to overwhelm, anxiety, frustration, etc. Maybe you saw this with your parents. Maybe you saw your parents do the same thing growing up. Or maybe you do it because it gives you a burst of energy when things are chaotic. Like when things are chaotic, you kind of get this adrenaline rush. It, it's dopaminergic to you, something like that. Another identity is the invisible identity. I'm talking to you introverts, introverted introverts. So you spend your life being the one who blends in, stays small, or keeps peace. Success may require you to be seen, chosen, be heard, or require you to take up space, but your old identity says that visibility equals danger or lack of safety. Again, you could trace this to childhood. Maybe as a kid, you were more, maybe you did speak more as a kid, but what happened was that when you would give your opinion, you were shut down by your parents, or you were told, "Hey, don't be too loud," or "Don't talk too much," or "Don't question things." Or maybe you've always been the quiet one in the friend group, or maybe your personality is an introverted personality, but like you feel like, oh, because that's my personality type, like, oh, that's just who I am. No, like, look, I'm introverted, but there's a lot of people that have been surprised when they realize I'm an introvert because I don't hold it like it's part of me, but I know that there's a lot of strength in being more outspoken in certain situations. And this is why shadow work and individuation is important because you become more versatile. And there are specific instances where you can kind of pull from your bag a given skill set or trait of yours because it's integrated. Another one, the hyper independent identity. I can relate to this too. You rely on no one. Um, so receiving support, opportunities, or abundance contradicts your identity. Success requires easily. If success requires easily receiving, let me just put um, if there. If success requires easily receiving, your identity says receiving equals weakness. If I easily get the thing, then oh man, I didn't figure it out myself. And for me, where it stemmed from was having worries about asking my mom for help because she was so busy when I was younger. She had work, she had to attend to this, attend to this. I'm like, I need to figure this out myself. I don't want to overwhelm my mother. So like there's a sense of like strength in that, and that has helped me in my life. But I realized areas where that was not good for me. So asking for help was a big important part of my entrepreneur is not was is a big part of my entrepreneurship journey and my self-development journey, my growth as a person, you know. So business has helped me with that, my relationship has helped me with that. asking for help. But when you have this hyper independent identity, you reject help, you sabotage partnerships, or you avoid opportunities as a whole because you need it to be almost like difficult. Like you kind of need it to, you kind of feel like you need to grind to validate that identity. Part five, how self sabotage shows up in real life. And I kind of talked about these. I kind of talked about this, but these are a little bit more specific. So overthinking small steps, getting tired right when momentum builds. Let's see, procrastinating on the one step, starting new projects instead of finishing one, feeling off when everything is going well, creating conflict before a breakthrough, isolating when opportunity appears, distracting yourself with addictions, feeling sudden imposter syndrome, forgetting important tasks, quote unquote, and being attracted to people or environments that drain you, that tire you out, so that you don't do the thing. So like you're like, okay, I'm gonna take action on this. Oh, but you gotta go to the club, and then you go to the club next day. You're tired, you're hungover, and you're like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, you find another excuse. Part six, the root insight I just want to say throughout this. Self sabotage is your body protecting you from an uncomfortable level of life you don't feel regulated enough to maintain. Simple as that. If your body doesn't feel safe with those things, it will block them. Not because it hates success, but because it loves safety more. And that's why there's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs that talks about basic level of survival. Like basic survival needs are at the bottom, and they're the most important. If you don't take care of those basic survival needs first, going up in the pyramid isn't as prioritized. So if you're in fight or flight around something, your mind and body is essentially like, we need to take care of our basic survival needs. We don't feel safe. So let's flight. Let's run away from this idea of success we have. Part seven, my protocol for breaking the sabotage cycle. First and foremost, please, please, please do this. Regulate first and then take action. The mind and body doesn't create when you're in fight or flight. In this state, it optimizes for staying alive, as you know. Regulate the nervous system so that it feels safe, right? Because when we're in fight or flight, we're in the sympathetic nervous system. When we are in calm, ease, relaxation, we're in the parasympathetic nervous system. This is our body being like, okay, let's do that. Let's do the digestion. Let's do the creative stuff. Let's think of solutions. Let's use our prefrontal cortex, right? And if you also look at the map of consciousness, reason, your logical faculties are higher up than like fear, because you have to go past fear in order to truly use your logical faculties, right? If you're running from a bear, like, okay, you're good at solving a math problem. Okay, you're good at, like you're good at the logical stuff, but like you're trying to stay alive. So that's why you have to live beyond fear. And when you regulate your nervous system, you live beyond fear. So deep breathing is a great place to start. 5 seconds in, you breathe in 5 seconds, you hold for 5 seconds, and then you breathe out for 5 seconds. I call this the 5-5-5 method. I feel like I created it, but I'm sure someone else has already thought of this before. Just something that popped in my head. There's also alternate nostril breathing. So what you can do is you can take your thumb and then cover one nostril, breathe in deep through the other nostril, hold it, and then breathe out through both nostrils. And then you can alternate that way. Other ways to regulate your nervous system: cardiovascular exercise, yoga, weight training, basically any exercise that moves your body is going to be very helpful. Slow intentional movement. So if you're going about your day and you're moving slower, that signals to your body that there's no need to rush. There's no need to like be in a panic. Slower movements, slowing down your movements. Emotional processing, processing your past, like I talked about with the looking into your inner child, looking into your upbringing, processing those things. Some of our traumas, they get stored in our body. I'll also say any subconscious audios that have to do with nervous system regulation. So subconscious affirmations that focus on nervous system regulation are super powerful, super good. Binaural beats, those are really good as well. I'll say, Hertz music as well is great. When your system feels safe, success stops feeling threatening. That simple. Secondly, create micro safety around success. So have conviction in this is safe, we're not losing ourselves, and pair it with the nervous system regulation processes I just talked about. Visualize yourself achieving the goal and everything being great, everything being okay, your life being fine when you achieve the goal. Some approaches for micro safety. Put less pressure on yourself around it. Make it less pressure. Make it like, okay, I'm fine if I reach the success, and I'm fine if I don't. Put less pressure on yourself. Break it into micro steps. Break it into step one, let me do this. Step two, let me do this. Step three, let me do this. Because if you just look at it as a whole, it may be too overwhelming for you. Slow down. Take your time. Create predictable routines every day. That way you're not like, oh, what do I do today? Oh, what do I do today? You know what you're doing that day. Make the success normal. So normalize it. If you were to already achieve it, how would you treat it? You probably wouldn't pedestalize it as much. So if you're not going to pedestalize it when you achieve it, don't pedestalize it before you achieve it. Just like when you get a new phone, you get the new iPhone 17 or whatever iPhone we're on right now. I still got my old iPhone here. Works great, and I love it. But let's say you get a new iPhone, and like at first you're excited. You're like, oh, this is so cool. It's so cool. But then it becomes normal. You get used to it. So why would you pedestalize the iPhone 17 before you get it? Celebrate small wins as well. I don't care if you did 5 minutes of work and previously you did zero. That's still progress. You showed up even when you didn't feel like it. That's progress. Think of it like that. So that's creating micro safety. This trains your body to accept the new identity. Thirdly, upgrade your identity. Shift from I'm trying to become successful to I am someone that naturally holds success. Again, you have to normalize it how you normalize things you already have. For identity upgrades, choose new standards, visualize yourself already living in the identity, speak from the identity, speak how that person would speak, have the assumptions they would have, and embody the behaviors before the results. Don't wait for the world to prove it to you, prove it to yourself by just choosing it. And again, we're raised in a very scientific worldview, at least in America, and a lot of the world actually, and we're raised to seek validation and evidence from the physical world. But with reality creation, the physical world reflects the internal. So you have to step up first and then let the world catch up. That's the mirror principle of reality. Your nervous system must see the identity as familiar, not foreign. 4, heal the emotional risks of success. Ask what feels dangerous about succeeding. Maybe your fears, again, being judged, failing publicly, losing relationships, becoming responsible, outgrowing friends and family, being seen, not being able to maintain it. Just name the fear and then shrink it. Challenge the fear. Act like a prosecutor, and just challenge it. Pose opposing arguments to the given thing you have fears around. So you have fears of being judged. What if I'm not judged as much as I think I would be? What if I'm judged and I don't care? Failing publicly. What if I fail initially, but then I succeed? What if failure teaches me things I need to succeed? Losing relationships. What if I don't lose relationships? What if I lose the wrong relationships and I gain the right ones? Becoming responsible. What if responsibility teaches me a lot about myself? What if it teaches me a lot about life? What if being more responsible leads to me being happier? Outgrowing family and friends. What if I don't outgrow my family and friends? What if I outgrow the wrong family members? And what if I outgrow the wrong friends? Being seen. Um, what if I'm seen more and I end up liking it? Not being able to maintain it. What if I am able to maintain it? What if I'm not able to maintain it, but then I learn how to maintain it? So this is a level of conviction and challenging you have to have with your beliefs. And the more serious you are about heading where you're heading, the more likely you are to do this. 5, this is an underrated one. Build capacity. You need capacity. In the bucket example, this meant a bucket that can hold at least 5 gallons of water. In the real life example, having capacity for success means emotional space. Can I hold emotional space? Can I deal with the ups and downs of whatever I'm going for? If it's entrepreneurship, can I deal with the ups and downs of entrepreneurship? If you're practicing meditation, if you're regulating your nervous system, you can. If you're reframing, you definitely can. Mental clarity. Am I living with mentally clear headspace day to day? That's creating space for the thing I want in my life. Nervous system bandwidth. Can my nervous system take it? If it can't, okay, let me do steps for it to take it. Stability, right? Am I stable enough to go towards this? Can I set boundaries with people so I can go towards this? Can I overall just regulate my life so I can go towards this? Can I create beliefs that are conducive for where I want to head towards? That's another one. Beliefs. And I'll have this document in the description box, by the way. The body stops sabotaging when the body feels it can hold the new life. That's simple. So here's a summary. Self-sabotage is not your enemy. It's your subconscious going back to your outdated identity to keep you, quote unquote, safe. When you regulate your nervous system, outline the safety and the success, expand your capacity, and update the identity you operate from, sabotage stops. Because success no longer feels dangerous, it feels normal, and the new identity feels normal. Now, we covered a lot of things. Hope you get a lot of value from this. If you need help with this process, join my monthly coaching container because I talk about this basically every day with people. We talk about, based on your sticking points and what you need to work on, we'll talk about those things. But there's a lot of people I've spoken to about this given topic, about self-sabotage, that have helped. And I could help tailor an approach for you. So you can join my monthly coaching container by going to this link. I'll have it in the description box. And if you access this form, it'll be on this form, as you can see. And I'll be happy to chat with you, learn about your situation, tell you what monthly coaching is all about. And then from there, you can think about if you want to join or not. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Peace.